This is Long Listen, where great books aren't consumed, they're examined. Each episode explores the psychology, philosophy, and hidden tensions inside influential works, helping you move beyond quotes and headlines into the deeper insights that actually change perspective. If you often feel tired, distracted, anxious, or strangely empty, there is a chance the problem is not your motivation, your discipline, or your mindset. There is a chance the problem is much older than that. According to Sapiens, the human brain you are using today was not designed for the world you are living in right now. It was shaped tens of thousands of years ago, in a completely different environment, with completely different rules for survival. For most of human history, our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherers. Their days were simple, but not easy. They woke up with one clear goal: survive today. Find food, avoid danger, stay connected to the group. Their world was small, immediate, and concrete. If there was a threat, it was physical. If there was food, it was visible. If there was a problem, it demanded action now, not next week, not next year. Our brains evolved to handle short-term danger, not long-term pressure. They became extremely good at scanning the environment for threats, reacting quickly, and remembering negative experiences so we could avoid them in the future. This is why fear, anxiety, and alertness are so powerful. In the wild, these emotions saved lives. Now fast forward to the modern world. There are no predators hiding in the bushes, but your brain does not know that. Instead, it sees unread emails, deadlines, bills, social comparison, news headlines, and future uncertainty as threats. The problem is that these threats never end. You don't escape them. You carry them in your pocket, on your phone, in your thoughts, even when you are supposed to rest. The human brain is ancient hardware running modern software. And that mismatch comes at a cost. Social media is a perfect example. Your brain evolved in small tribes of maybe 50 to 150 people. In that environment, knowing your social status mattered. Being accepted meant survival. Being rejected could mean death. Today, you are exposed to the opinions, achievements, and lives of thousands of people every day. Your brain treats every comparison as meaningful, even when it shouldn't. It doesn't know the difference between a rival in your tribe and a stranger on the internet. This is why a single negative comment can ruin your mood, even if 100 positive things happen the same day. Negativity sticks because evolution made it stick. A hunter who ignored danger died. A hunter who worried too much survived. Yuval Noah Harari makes a quiet but uncomfortable point in Sapiens. Progress does not automatically equal happiness. As technology advanced, life became more complex, not necessarily more satisfying. We gained comfort, speed, and control over nature, but we also inherited constant stimulation and chronic stress. Our nervous system never gets the signal that the hunt is over. Think about how often you truly feel done for the day. Not tired, but finished. In the past, when the food was gathered and the fire was lit, the day ended. Today, work leaks into the night. Messages demand replies. Goals stretch endlessly into the future. There is always something else you should be doing. From an evolutionary perspective, this is unnatural. The brain was designed for cycles of tension and release. Modern life offers tension without release. We are alert without danger, busy without resolution, connected without belonging. This doesn't mean modern humans are weak. It means we are misaligned. Feeling overwhelmed in a hyper-connected world is not a personal failure. It is a biological response. When people blame themselves for burnout, lack of focus, or anxiety, they often ignore the deeper question: Is this environment compatible with how humans are built? Sapiens does not romanticize the past. Hunter-gatherer life was brutal and uncertain. But it does challenge the assumption that newer is always better for the human mind. The book invites us to stop seeing history as a straight line of improvement and start seeing it as a series of trade-offs. We didn't evolve to chase endless productivity, optimize every minute, or measure our worth numerically. Those are recent inventions. Useful, powerful, but psychologically expensive. Understanding this changes the conversation. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" we can ask, "What kind of life is this brain suited for?" That shift alone can soften the constant self-criticism many young people live with. Maybe you don't need to become stronger, faster, or more disciplined. Maybe you need to become more aware of the limits of a mind that was never meant to live at this speed. And that realization is not an excuse to give up. It is an invitation to live more consciously inside a world your brain did not choose, but must now survive. If the above was about understanding that our brains are ancient, then this part is about something even more uncomfortable. The moment humans tried to upgrade their lives and accidentally created a system that never lets the brain rest. In Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari calls the agricultural revolution the biggest fraud in history. That sounds dramatic, almost clickbaity, until you look at it through the lens of the human mind. Before farming, most humans lived as hunter-gatherers. Life was uncertain, but strangely balanced. You hunted, you gathered, you ate, you rested. Hunger came and went. Fear came and went. Satisfaction existed in clear physical forms. Then agriculture arrived, promising stability. Grow crops, settle down, and produce more food. On paper, it sounds like progress. In reality, it quietly rewired the human relationship with work, time, and anxiety. Agriculture didn't make individuals happier. It made populations larger. And that difference matters more than we think. Once humans depended on crops, they became trapped in delayed rewards. You worked today for food months later. You worried about the weather, pests, and storage. Your survival now depended not only on effort, but on forces you couldn't control. The brain, which evolved to deal with immediate cause and effect, suddenly had to live in a world of constant anticipation. Now let's do a small mini-quiz. Don't overthink it. Just answer instinctively. Question 1. Would you rather deal with one intense problem that lasts 10 minutes or 10 small problems that last all day? If you're human, your brain prefers the first one. Our minds handle acute stress better than chronic stress. A predator attack triggers adrenaline, action, and then relief. A never-ending to-do list triggers anxiety without resolution. Agriculture introduced chronic stress into human life. Modern society perfected it. Today, you don't fear losing your crops, but you fear losing relevance, stability, income, or direction. The objects have changed, but the psychological structure is the same. Your brain is constantly waiting for something to go wrong, because evolution taught it that preparation equals survival. Now, let's bring in the caveman analogy. Imagine your brain is a caveman. Not a cartoon caveman, but a real one. He is strong, alert, suspicious, and deeply concerned with survival. Now put that caveman in an office. Fluorescent lights, emails, Slack notifications, TikTok pings. Every time your phone buzzes, the caveman doesn't think, "Oh, a harmless notification." He thinks, "Something is happening. Pay attention. Could be dangerous. Could be an opportunity. Don't miss it." This is why notifications feel urgent even when they're meaningless. Your rational mind knows it's just a meme. Your caveman brain thinks it might be a tiger. This is also why scrolling feels addictive. The brain evolved to scan constantly for new information. In the wild, new information meant survival. A new sound, a new movement, a new pattern. Social media exploits this perfectly. Endless novelty with zero physical effort. Your brain did not evolve to say, enough information for today. It evolved to say, more information could save your life. Now think about the distracted boyfriend meme. You know the one. A guy walking with his girlfriend, turning his head to stare at another woman, while the girlfriend looks shocked and angry. Replace the boyfriend with your brain. Replace the girlfriend with calm, stable information. Replace the other woman with drama, outrage, or celebrity scandal. That meme explains modern attention better than most textbooks. Negative or dramatic information hijacks attention because evolution trained us to notice threats before comfort. Good news is safe. Bad news might kill you, so your brain prioritizes the bad. This is why you can scroll past 10 wholesome posts and stop instantly at one piece of outrage. It's not because you enjoy negativity, it's because your brain was built to survive it. Harari's deeper point is not that agriculture was a mistake we should undo. It's that once humans started optimizing for productivity, they stopped optimizing for psychological well-being. Fields needed constant care. Animals needed constant guarding. Societies needed constant growth. And humans learned to measure success externally. More food, more land, more power. The modern version of this is hustle culture. Always improve, always grow, always monetize, always plan the future. Your worth becomes something you chase, not something you experience. Here's another mini quiz. Be honest. When was the last time you felt satisfied without immediately thinking, what's next? If that question makes you uncomfortable, you're not alone. The hunter-gatherer brain understood completion. The modern brain understands continuation. There is always another email, another skill, another milestone, another version of yourself you haven't become yet. And because the brain evolved to seek closure, the lack of it creates a low-level anxiety that never fully disappears. This is where burnout enters the picture. Burnout is not laziness. It's not a weakness. It's what happens when a brain designed for cycles is forced into a straight line. No clear endings, no real rest, just maintenance. Harari indirectly challenges a sacred belief of modern life, that comfort equals happiness. We assume that because we have heating, smartphones, and delivery apps, we must be better off psychologically than our ancestors. But comfort does not automatically create meaning. In some cases, it removes it. Struggle, when bounded, creates clarity. Endless optimization creates confusion. This doesn't mean suffering is good or that we should romanticize hardship. It means the brain needs context. It needs to know why effort matters. Farming tied effort to survival, but it also tied survival to endless labor. Modern life ties effort to abstract goals. Money, status, future security. The further the reward moves from the action, the harder it is for the brain to feel fulfilled. Your brain understands eating after hunting. It struggles to understand saving for a retirement it can't visualize. Now, layer social comparison on top of this. In small tribes, comparison had limits. You compared yourself to a few people. In modern society, you compare yourself to everyone. The most successful, the most attractive, the most productive. And your brain treats those comparisons as real, even though they're statistical illusions. This is why so many young people feel behind, even when they're doing objectively fine. The scale is broken. Sapiens forces us to ask a dangerous question. What if history is not a story of increasing happiness, but a story of increasing control? Control over nature? Control over resources? Control over other humans? Control over time? Control feels powerful, but it also creates responsibility. And responsibility without rest becomes psychological debt. So where does this leave us? Not with a solution checklist. Harari doesn't offer one, and maybe that's intentional. Understanding the problem is already a form of relief. When you stop interpreting exhaustion as personal failure and start seeing it as a structural mismatch, something shifts. You can't go back to being a hunter-gatherer. You probably wouldn't want to. But you can design moments of closure, moments of physicality, moments of real rest. You can reduce unnecessary alerts. You can stop expecting your brain to function like a machine. Most importantly, you can stop being surprised by your own limits. The agricultural revolution taught humans how to dominate the planet. It did not teach them how to live peacefully inside their own minds. That lesson is still unfinished. And maybe the quiet task of our generation is not to optimize life further, but to remember that the brain we carry is ancient, sensitive, and doing its best in a world it never evolved to understand. That awareness alone won't fix everything, but it might be the first moment your caveman brain finally hears a signal it recognizes. The hunt is paused. You are safe. For now. If agriculture was the first trap, hustle culture might be its most polished version. The tools have changed. The language has changed. But the logic is eerily familiar. Grow more, work harder, delayed rest. Promise yourself that happiness will arrive later, once the harvest comes in. In Sapiens, Harari argues that the agricultural revolution gave humans more food, but not more joy. It multiplied calories, not contentment. Today, hustle culture multiplies output, not peace. Let's zoom out for a second. Anthropologists estimate that hunter-gatherers worked roughly 3 to 6 hours a day to secure food. The rest of the time was spent resting, socializing, telling stories, or doing nothing in particular. There was effort, yes, but there was also completion. You hunted, you ate, you lived. There was no resume to build, no brand to curate, no future version of yourself constantly judging the present one. Now compare that to modern life. 12-hour workdays, side hustles, personal brands, grinding for a startup dream, optimizing sleep so you can work more, optimizing productivity so you can grind harder, optimizing yourself until you no longer recognize what you're optimizing for. The cruel irony is that we are working harder than our ancestors to feel secure, not to feel alive. Harari's idea of agriculture as the biggest fraud in history lands differently when you look at hustle culture. Farming promised stability but delivered dependency. Hustle culture promises freedom but delivers exhaustion. Both systems rely on the same psychological trade. Sacrifice now, fulfillment later. The problem is that later keeps moving. Here's a question worth asking, and it might sting a little. Are you trading your health for a better CV? Not because you love the work, but because stopping feels dangerous. Because resting feels like falling behind. Because everyone else seems to be running, and you don't want to be the only one standing still. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. In small tribes, falling behind could mean losing status, protection, or access to resources. Your brain still carries that fear. It doesn't care that your LinkedIn competition isn't a life or death threat. It reacts as if it is. This is where hustle culture becomes emotionally persuasive. It doesn't just sell productivity, it sells identity. You are not just working long hours. You are ambitious. You are not tired. You are driven. You are not anxious. You care deeply. Hustle culture turns overwork into virtue. And once something becomes a virtue, questioning it feels like a moral failure. But biology doesn't care about your values. It cares about balance. This is why burnout is everywhere, especially among young people who are supposedly living in the most flexible, opportunity-rich era in history. Remote work was meant to free us. Instead, it erased boundaries. Home became office. Time became fluid. Work became invisible, endless, and oddly intimate. You wake up where you work. You rest where you stress. There is no physical signal telling your brain that the workday is over. And without that signal, the nervous system stays partially activated. Burnout isn't always a dramatic collapse. Sometimes it's just a quiet loss of energy, curiosity, and care. Enter #quiet quitting. Despite the name, it's not really about quitting. It's about refusing to give unpaid emotional labor to a system that keeps demanding more without giving meaning back. For some, it's laziness. For others, it's survival. From a Sapiens lens, it looks like something else. A brain trying to reintroduce limits into a system that removed them. Hunter-gatherers had natural limits. Hunger ended when you ate. Danger ended when you escaped. Modern work has artificial limits, and many of them are optional, socially enforced, or culturally inherited. Emails don't have to be answered at midnight. Hustle culture just convinces you they should be. The brain is not designed for infinite obligation. It needs edges. It needs endings. Now let's bring back humor for a moment, because sometimes laughter tells the truth faster than logic. Imagine again your caveman brain. He has no concept of career growth. He understands effort only when it leads to immediate survival or social bonding. You tell him, "We're working late tonight so we can maybe get promoted in 2 years." He stares at you, confused, clutching his spear. There is no emotional payoff he can register. This is why so many people feel empty even when they're doing well. The rewards are abstract. The goals are distant. The praise is conditional. Your brain doesn't know how to metabolize success that never arrives in the present. Agriculture created surplus, but it also created hierarchy. Some people benefited more than others. Hustle culture does the same. A few win big. Most just get tired. But because success stories are loud and visible, they distort perception. You see the winners, not the millions quietly burning out. Social media amplifies this distortion. Everyone is building, launching, crushing it. Failure is edited out. Rest is hidden. Doubt is disguised as motivation. You compare your behind-the-scenes exhaustion to everyone else's highlight reel, and your brain concludes that you are losing. Again, this isn't a character flaw. It's a cognitive trap. Harari's broader insight is that humans are incredibly good at creating systems, but not always good at living inside them. Agriculture created civilization, cities, and culture. It also created inequality, stress, and obsession with growth. Hustle culture is a continuation of that logic, scaled by technology and speed. The question isn't, should we work? Humans have always worked. The question is, what kind of work aligns with a brain shaped by evolution, not ideology? When work provides clear purpose, visible impact, and natural rhythms, the brain copes. When work becomes endless, abstract, and identity-consuming, the brain rebels. Sometimes it rebels loudly through breakdowns. Sometimes quietly through disengagement. This reframes #quiet quitting in an interesting way. Maybe it's not a lack of ambition. Maybe it's an unconscious attempt to restore a hunter-gatherer boundary. Do what is necessary, then stop. Protect energy. Preserve sanity. None of this means ambition is bad. Growth is not evil. The danger lies in believing that more effort will automatically produce more happiness. History suggests otherwise. Agriculture didn't do it. Industrialization didn't do it. Hustle culture won't either. So what do we do with this insight? Not much, at first. And that's okay. Awareness precedes change. You don't need to quit your job, burn your planner, or move to the woods. You just need to stop treating exhaustion as proof of inadequacy. Ask yourself different questions. Not, how can I push harder? But what is this effort for? Not, how do I optimize myself? But what does my brain actually need? Not, why can't I keep up? But, is this pace human? Sapiens don't give comforting answers. It gives unsettling clarity. It reminds us that many modern ideals are historically recent experiments, not eternal truths. Hustle culture feels inevitable because it's everywhere. But inevitability is often just repetition mistaken for destiny. Your ancestors didn't work less because they were lazy. They worked differently because their survival strategy demanded balance. We changed the strategy. We forgot the balance. Maybe the quiet revolution of our time isn't about rejecting work, but about questioning the stories we've been told about it. Stories that equate worth with productivity. Stories that treat rest as weakness. Stories that promise fulfillment later if we just endure a little more now. If agriculture was the first deal humanity made with the future, hustle culture might be the one we're finally learning to renegotiate. And that renegotiation starts with a simple, radical idea. Your brain is not broken, it's ancient, and it's asking you, in the only language it knows, to stop pretending that endless grinding is the same thing as living. If there is one quiet message running underneath everything in Sapiens, it is this. Human history is not a story of constant improvement in happiness. It is a story of increasing complexity, increasing control, and increasing distance between what the human brain evolved for and the world it now has to survive in. Once you see that, something important shifts. The question stops being, why am I not strong enough? And becomes, strong enough for what, exactly? Part 1 was never about blaming modern life. We are not going back to the savannah. We are not rejecting technology, ambition, or progress. What this part tries to do is much simpler and much harder at the same time. To stop moralizing exhaustion. When you feel drained, distracted, or unmotivated, the default explanation is usually personal failure. Laziness, weak discipline, poor mindset. Sapiens offers a different frame. Maybe the system is demanding something no human nervous system was designed to give indefinitely. Harari's line captures this better than any motivational quote ever could. We didn't domesticate wheat. It domesticated us. Humans thought agriculture would serve them. Instead, they reorganized their entire lives around it. The same pattern repeats today. We think productivity tools, hustle culture, and constant connectivity serve us. Quietly, we reorganize our lives around them. The danger isn't that we work. Humans have always worked. The danger is forgetting that the brain doing the work is ancient. Your mind is not a superhero. It is a caveman wearing Wi-Fi. So let's talk about something practical. Not a life overhaul. Not a wake up at 5 a.m. routine. Just one small experiment you can try without changing who you are. Call it a caveman break. Once a day, for 1 hour, turn off all non-essential notifications. No social media pings, no news alerts, no group chat noise. You don't need to meditate. You don't need to be productive. Just remove the constant signals that tell your brain something might be happening. This is not about discipline. It's about giving your nervous system a clear message. There is no tiger right now. Notice what happens. The first few minutes may feel uncomfortable. That's normal. Your brain has been trained to scan endlessly. But slowly, the tension drops. Thoughts become less urgent. Time stretches slightly. That is what rest actually feels like to a mind that rarely gets it. This isn't self-care as an aesthetic. It's basic evolutionary maintenance. And just as importantly, change the language you use with yourself. Instead of saying, "I'm lazy," try saying, "My brain is overloaded." Instead of, "I'm falling behind," try, "This pace might not be human." These aren't excuses. They are accurate descriptions. Understanding Sapiens at this level doesn't magically solve burnout, anxiety, or confusion. But it removes one of the heaviest burdens people carry. Shame. Shame for not keeping up. Shame for feeling tired in a world that celebrates speed. Shame for questioning a system that everyone else seems to accept. Part 1 ends here, not with answers, but with awareness. Awareness that many of your struggles are not personal defects, but predictable outcomes of living inside systems built for growth, not for minds. Awareness that history is not a straight line toward happiness, but a series of trade-offs we rarely pause to examine. And this is where Part 2 begins. Because once you realize that agriculture reshaped human life through a shared belief system, another question naturally follows. What are the belief systems shaping your life right now? Money, success, career, status, national identity, even the idea of a good life. These are not biological truths. They are collective stories, powerful ones. In Part 2, we'll talk about those stories, how they guide behavior, how they create meaning, and how they sometimes quietly control us more than we realize. If wheat domesticated humans once, we need to ask an uncomfortable question. What is domesticating us now? For now, remember this. Your exhaustion does not mean you are broken. It means you are human, carrying a mind shaped by tens of thousands of years into a world that only learned how to exist a few centuries ago. And sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is not push harder, but pause long enough for your caveman brain to finally breathe.